You are live.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can see the slides, and I'm very happy to be here. My name is Ido Bigger, and I will share with you my insights on the data leaders' do's and don'ts during the crisis. So just 1 minute about myself. I'm currently the Chief Information and Data Officer of El Al. El Al is the national airline of the State of Israel. We're currently, as most airlines now, in a big crisis. You can pretty much divide the airlines around the world to two groups. One group is the airlines that the government helped them, had a governmental aid, and still survived. And the other group is the airlines that weren't being helped, and they're currently going towards bankruptcy or Chapter 11. El Al is kind of in the middle because we have all the intention of a governmental help, yet it didn't come through, and we haven't bankrupt yet. But it's unfortunately it's something that's on the table, and that's why we're feeling the crisis as we speak. Previous to that, I was working for a television company as a data officer, again, chief data officer, in charge of both the data engineering department, considered out of 35 data engineers, and was in charge of the data analytics teams all across the organization, including establishing a data science team that was relatively new. Prior to that, I was working a lot with the financial industry. I saw the list of speakers, and I saw that there are many people from the financial industry. So I used to work as professional services to many of the tier 1 banks: Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, etc. I was living in New York. I teach in Tel Aviv University about big data and data visualization, and in the Technion, which is the Israeli equivalent to MIT, where I teach data science and data architecture as part of the MBA. Previously, in many organizations, working on BI platforms, big data solutions, and of course, BI implementations. Everything I'm saying now, or everything I'm going to be talking about, can be seen in an article that I've written on LinkedIn. It's called "The Data Leaders' Do's and Don'ts During a Crisis," which practically sums up this entire lecture. The thing is, it was presented, as you can see in the first page, in the YADA conference of all the airlines. So it was focused more towards airline. I changed it a little bit to make it available and more understandable for the entire globe, as we can see here by the list of attendees, and of course, different pillars of different industries. And I hope you find it useful, because COVID is not just the airlines to enjoy off, right? All the world is currently enjoying COVID-19, and of course it struck us first, and it's pretty much going to struck us. We're going to get out of it the last. Of course, I'm talking about the travel industry. So let's get practical. The first thing we did is, of course, understand that there is a new type of information that is very necessary to ingest into all of our systems. So no matter in which industry you are, I assume the John Hopkins dashboard is one of your sources, and I'm talking about, of course, the APIs behind it. I was talking to the lady that was in charge of this project, Professor Gardner, and they were very starting from scratch when they started this project. So whenever someone of you, of course, data leaders, can get a hold of information, whether it's vaccinated people now by countries, we are, of course, working globally and want to understand which route to open first, to needed to be closed immediately, all the mutations that now are coming around the world. Everything was ingested into our data platforms. It was very important for us to reflect all the situation, all the commercial situation, the operational situation, next to those numbers of the COVID-19. So that's the first thing I would suggest to immediately do, and understand how to ingest all the relevant sources of data of the new world into the systems, into the data platforms, of course, utilizing the current data deliverables alongside this as a new data source. By the way, the simplest way of doing it is just presenting it as part of the data products. Even if it's just starting it, just show it as part of the other data product, the other dashboards that you have, just to make sure that it aligns and it looks okay together. The second thing we had to do, and of course it sounds very trivial to understand the business, but I was talking more focusing on the financial side in the accounting terms. I want to emphasize or elaborate a bit. We as IT professionals and data professionals are not necessarily understanding the bits and bytes of the P&L or the balance sheets. We are focusing more on data products and understanding the business as a whole, or understanding the business units and what do they do. But we never really understood, and I'm talking now as a whole, the GLs. We never really understood the financial terms. But now when all the focus currently goes to cash flow, for example, I had to go really deep into working with the finance people, the one who were left, of course, because 90% of my airline, for example, is currently on unpaid leave. So we were working a lot of understanding what would be beneficial for them to understand with regards to the cash flow. So we immediately focused all of our efforts towards that. So immediately when you're working on a data product, of course, you have to understand the business behind it. But I'm focusing now my few words here on the financial terms and financial aspects. So immediately focus your product efforts, whether it's, of course, on the mobile or on your data platform. We are using Tableau immediately to reflect the relevant things in a very, very clear way. What's good, what's bad, when do you have a problem with your cash flow, when it's going to be rounding out, what's the biggest drops, what's the biggest highs. So it's very, very important to do it very, very clear and understandable. Of course, utilizing data visualization at its best. We focused most of our efforts on sales and refunds, right? We are dealing with an airline, a lot of flight cancellations. We had to really understand which section or which country suffers the most right now. Where do we hold this budget? Where do we let it go a little bit, in a more, let's say, positive way? Where do we see the biggest drops? Where can we even handle it or where not? So reflection of it geographically-wise was very important to have a full overview on the products of whether it's sales or refunds, and immediately reflect it to the finance people and, of course, the commerce people. It was very important for them to have it in real time. Everything is going to be in real time. I'm going to talk about it in a second. But it was had to align to an act. That means if you see a red dot, what should I do with that, and not just leave it as a problem. So everything here is actionable. So you can click the red dot and immediately see all the details behind it, all the tickets behind it, and what's the amount that we are owing now, or what's the refund there, etc., etc. So it became very, very operational. Of course, cancellation ratio, but I don't want to talk about it too much. But whenever you think about, for example, in Israel, we just closed the airport. The prime minister, the government decided to close the airport a few days ago. It has a huge, huge impact on everything around us, of course, as an airline. So immediately you can see those drops in this cancellation ratio of everything that was just bought a few weeks ago. And that's a huge, huge thing that needs to be reflected to our business employees. What you see here is my team. I was managing, now currently I'm the CIO, right? But before, a few months ago, I was just a chief data officer, and I was managing 30 people. And out of those 30 people, I got left with only 5. And all the rest were going to an unpaid leave. By the way, it was March 2020, so you can guess most of them have already found another jobs. So I need to recruit everybody back once we're up and running. So out of those 30 remained just 4 people and myself. And due to the fact that we really shrinked, and I didn't want them to feel like nobody cares and you just cope with it, The yellow arrow that you see there is my place. I sat alongside with them, started coding again, developing data products, went back to drill down, to do everything as part of the delivery line. It was very important for me personally, and of course for the company, that there is no more management, right? Everybody is on the fence, fighting this battle, and of course going back to basics. It was very important to do as data leader during crisis. Sometimes we find ourselves, especially when we start to manage 30, 40, 50 people, we mainly deal with managing them and working on architecture, designing, but we have to leave the code because we have to manage everything. So one of the best things that I can recommend here is stay close to your keyboard, right? Understand what's going on. Be able always to replace at least one level below you, and of course keep on learning all the time. I'm teaching in the university. One of the purpose for me teaching big data technologies is to be on track all the time and understanding and learning the new capabilities that are there, and of course be relevant. Just be relevant. And this was a huge part of whatever delivery we had at this moment, because they felt they're not alone, and I'm with them, and it was very important act, even though it was very simple for me, just moving from my office to this place. Rapid BI, and this is something I want to elaborate more than just 2, 3 or 3 minutes. When we talked about new sources, new data sources, when you see a platform that has to reflect or being utilized to analyze people with the business, the thing is, we have to be able to be very flexible with our BI products or data products, and not necessarily they are all well organized in our single data warehouse, as we call it. When I came to El Al 2 years ago, one of the main concerns was that not all data relevant for the analysis is available through the BI systems. And that was because the data warehouse was only focusing on the commercial aspects of things, not the service, not the maintenance, not the catering. You know, our airline is a huge company. It's like 7 different companies combined together. You have, it's the biggest restaurant in Israel because we served over 6 million passengers. It's the biggest, maintenance company because we dealt with, hundreds of flights a month. So by that, what I mean is that it was built in silos, and there was no way that in 2 years or 3 years I would close the gap of so many years of building a right data warehouse alongside company's life. So what we decided to do is have this collection layer. We used, in this case, still RDBMS, but it was held with a CDC that allowed us to work in real time with operational systems DBs. And that allowed us to have many more sources alongside data that came from the data warehouse, and immediately within weeks prepare those data products that were given or delivered to the customers. And they were very amazed by the delivery time. Okay, they were always used to request for things and see it on a gun and on a GAT and understand they're going to get it in a few months. But we did hear something that resembles an agile methodology, because they got the first version of a data product. We implemented what is called data ops, and we kind of created this product methodology that this product was delivered to them within a week or 2, and immediately they can see whether it's impacted whatever they do or not. So we can immediately adjust ourselves and come up with a new version the next week and a new version the following week. And after a month or a month and a half, they had a very good product that was residing on the collection layer. Now, just imagine the collection layer. Most of you are technical, so just imagine the collection layer is as a semantic layer made out of views, that behind the scenes there are many tables that were gathered from many operational systems and not necessarily in the right way, but they were all being reflected very well in the semantic layer. So the semantic layer was the holy grail here, to make the business objectives and the business objects very, very good. And in that way to reflect them, in our case, in that Tableau, in a very efficient way, whether it's mobile or whether it's on the desktop. By the way, everything we prepared, we immediately understood that it was necessary to bring out first the mobile version, because most of them would like to have, the initial phase on their mobile and then see it on the desktop if they want to really investigate it more. So this was a huge game changer for us, and we started 2 years ago. It helped us a lot during the crisis. But if, for example, now when we're talking about COVID-19, you find yourself with a big urge for many new sources, and you have your data warehouse team or your data team, and you don't know how to collaborate it very well, think about this solution. A lot of people approached me after I presented this from the other airlines and asked me how exactly did we do it. I tried to write more about it in my article that you can see in my LinkedIn. And then I really explained step by step how do you do this methodology, and it helped them a lot to be utilized very well. I show all the steps there because it's very important that once it's off and the product is live and they are happy with it, we should never forget to take this collection layer and what we took this model in the collection layer and put it back in our unified data warehouse or whatever you want to call it, because it can't stay quick and dirty and only being reflected in the semantic layer. It's not a finalized phase, and that's very important for you to understand. It's a way to bring products very, very fast, but it's most importantly to not forget this phase and bring it back afterwards to the same methodology as you used to work before. Otherwise, you will find yourself with many entities out of the blue, not connected to each other, and that's very, very problematic. Next, as understood from my conversation before, everything has to be in real time. A data model isn't relevant if it's not in real time, and maybe the right term is to say right time. Immediately when I got to this organization, I explored all the 108 sources that the data warehouse had. And I asked two questions. What is the current extraction iteration of the extraction? Is it every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 day, 24 hours, 48 hours? And what is the available output? Now, the ones that I saw available output, real time, current output, 24 hours, it was easy. Okay, let's do something that will extract those real times and replace those 24 hours latency. The thing is not to necessarily maintain the current architecture. Moving to real time sometimes has many obstacles in it, because we are trying to reflect whatever we reflect now, but let's just do it in real time. And then just the extraction of those real-time models that comes in a different way, not necessarily in this one unified source that was prepared for us every 24 hours from the operational system. When you move into real time and you start to extract data, it's not necessarily in the same order, same structure, etc. So you need to build, according to my experience, another layer of a real-time supporting business model of data alongside the let's say the rigid robustic one, and do this to maintain this transition alongside with the user experience, and you will see it will go to the real-time environment very well. They will start to understand that they can't live in this batch mode anymore. They will move you and shift you and change this model more and more and more until this is going to be the new truth, and this one is going to go to garbage. It's a diffusion that goes within few months, sometimes years, but the customer will take you there as long as you keep and maintain the real time very, very easy to understand. Sometimes lack of details, but it's very, very easy to understand and very, very easy to implement. The second thing is the situation where you have new sources. You have to bring yourself to a standard where a new source, when you're working with suppliers and where you are trying to bring new item into the system or into the entire architecture, it has to come out with the obligation of supplying data in real time to whoever it needs. Because when you think about it, a data-driven organization is not an organization that utilizes dashboards or reports. It's where an organization goes into the prescriptive layer and takes data and implement it back to the operational systems. And by that, you have to have this data in real time in order to ingest it back through the ODS or whatever, back to the operational system. And by that, it's very important that every new system or every new model, every new piece in the IT architecture has to come up with the ability to reflect the data and to bring the data guys to extract it in real time. Now, it's very important for me personally because I'm also the CIO now. So I'm in charge of the entire IT architecture, entire technologies. So it's very easy for me to see the outcome that is needed to be delivered eventually and demanded from my suppliers or my systems on the operational side. This is more relevant to my industry, but I hope I see from all the people that are on this session, I assume most of us are suffering a lot from this pandemic business-wise. And many of my employees, out of my 300 people, currently there are maybe 70, 80 people left. All the rest are on unpaid leave. The thing is, we have to understand those people are still part of the team. And by that, I mean, they're not getting paid, but they are urged, they want to come back to work and they want to be part of the game. So I elaborated the medium of online training with Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, Microsoft, whatever, everything you can think of, and build this program. And I told them, look, you don't have to learn this. It's my suggestion. And they really focus their efforts there. So at least those people that are on unpaid leave right now, they're not come back. They're not gonna come back to the company out of the blue. They won't know what's going on. They look. Some of the people are on unpaid leave since March 2020. Currently, we're almost on March 2021. So it's 1 year without touching a system. And for us IT people, it's like a death sentence. So the thing I would suggest the most is utilize the medium of online training for those people on unpaid leave. By the way, training should be utilized as part of the people that are working, but with an exclamation point to the people who aren't. Okay, it's very, very important to maybe utilize it. And of course, we can't obligate them to do it, but we definitely must encourage them to do so. So my main takeaways for us data guys and ladies, of course: financial focus. Understand more about the financial terms, accounting terms. Understand the impact, the financial impact on the company, and focus your efforts there in terms of the data, because everybody's gonna shift their focus there. I was talking again to airlines, so I was focusing them more on cash flow and the ability to work very smartly with the sales and refunds process. I see I'm the only one from an airline here, so I will skip to the next thing. Delivery line, and then I talk on a personal note. We always have to keep ourselves relevant, and sometimes we find ourselves more managing than actually delivering or working on data products. So my main conclusion, alongside maybe the past 5 or 6 years after managing over, as mentioned before, over 40 or 50 people all across the organization. You find yourself very quickly working only on management, or sometimes architecture. That's the most technical aspect of my job, and it's very important for you to still maintain the ability to be part of the delivery line. That's on a personal note. You can utilize again the online platform to learn, to train yourself, and sometimes even be part of the delivery line whenever you can. It's very important. The rapid BI methodology, as mentioned before in the article, I mentioned a lot about it. In the real-time data models, I once again, if it's not real-time, it has to have a very, very good reason not to be in real-time. And don't forget the people on unpaid leave. There are many of us there. Unpaid leave is something that's all around the world now. I think that those people, especially in our field, the IT and data and analytics, if they're going to be really disconnected for a year, it's a truly professional death sentence for them. So we have to be there for them emotionally, but of course professionally, and encourage them to keep on learning and training themselves and stay relevant. That's not a good picture, because you can see here many airplanes, of our airplanes, with the Israeli flag on their tails, and they should not be on ground. Usually we have only one on ground, and all the rest are up there in the air, because one is being maintained and all the others are flying. So that's not a good, it's maybe nice, but it's not a good picture. I'm available here for your questions if you have any.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ido, for such a wonderful presentation that you have given to us. It's been an honor for us that you have given time to this conference, and the way you have discussed all the insights is highly commendable. The insights, the deep insights, the deep knowledge that you have discussed with our audience is just remarkable. Thank you so much for being such a great speaker. I would like to request my audience that Ido is present with us. You can just go and ask questions from it for the further any query. So now we are heading towards our next presenter, who is Evelina, working as a global e-commerce manager from D-Level. Okay, so within few minutes we will be with her presentation. First, she will be giving her introduction, and then she will be moving towards the final presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you.